All right, I am here with Ms. Sierra Feaster. She's an Albany State University student wrapping up her senior year, and she has aspirations to go to graduate school. And a year ago, she wasn't sure exactly where she would wind up or where she would apply. She had an idea of being a therapist, but didn't know what programs were out there. And so now that she's certain of where she wants to apply, she's submitted those applications, she's gotten letters of recommendation. I thought it would be helpful for other students who are uncertain about what to do next to hear her path. So, Sierra, can I call you Sierra? Is that all right?
Yeah, that is fine.
When did you know that you wanted to be a therapist?
Okay. I knew I wanted to be a therapist around, I would actually have to say my sophomore year and my junior year. It was pretty late because when I was a freshman, I knew I wanted to be a teacher first. So it was centering around children. I wanted to focus around children, but due to doing a lot of quizzes online, and also what my parents had said, I knew I had a caring, warm nature about myself. So I was like, oh, okay. And I know I also wanted to help people, but I was like, what career really centers towards that? What career really centers towards meaning? Because I know I want a career that is based off of being meaningful. Mm-hmm. So that's when I realized, okay, so to be an influence on children and to be meaningful and helpful, I really want to be a therapist because
mm-hmm.
that really sells it.
You said something that I found interesting. You said you took quizzes online. Yeah. Were these quizzes to help direct your career path?
Yeah. I know. It's like quite ridiculous because
I don't think that's ridiculous at all. That sounds really cool.
Oh.
So they just ask you questions about your personality and then make a recommendation?
Yes. I know. So I was just trying to get into a vague sense of okay, what's the, how should I say, the outlook of what I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm.
What. So they said humanistic careers, and I was like, I knew that was coming. I was like, okay, I knew that. So
it didn't really tell you anything you didn't know, just solidified.
Exactly. Just
what you
suspected
suspected.
And I was like, okay, I just know this. So they said teacher, counselor, and I was like, those are at the top. They were always at the top, and I'm like, I always knew I wanted to be a teacher when I was a little girl, but. Yeah.
That's interesting because I always knew I wanted to be a therapist, and I became a teacher. You knew you wanted to be a teacher, and you're going to become a therapist.
Yes.
But I see the two really, really related, and I think you can do teaching from a therapeutic side and therapy from a educational side.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you narrowed it down to therapist.
Yes.
And what types of therapy did you look into?
Types of therapy.
So you knew you wanted to be with kids.
Mm-hmm. So the number one thing was child psychologist, that type of therapist. And I didn't really have a second one because it was also just because okay. So the one that was kind of hinted at was school therapist, where it was like a school counselor.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, okay. But then it was a classic situation. I'm pretty sure a lot of students out there has been through it where a parent says, no, that doesn't make a lot of money. So it's just so I had to think some more.
So you looked at guidance counselor or school psychologist,
mm-hmm.
But found that while there are jobs, they don't pay very well.
Yes.
So that you ruled that one out.
Yes. So that's why I thought of child psychologist, because I'm not sure with the school counselor, but for child psychologists you can get a PhD and then make your own practice and then carry on from there. So, yeah.
But as like a school counselor, you'd pretty much have to work for a school district with all of their payment limitations and stuff. Okay,
exactly.
so you see a practice in your future, like a private practice.
Yeah, I really want to, because it really goes against my character. I don't want to stay inside my comfort zone.
Okay.
So, yeah, but that's a whole nother thing.
All right, so you started ruling out certain ways to do therapy with children. And how did you choose graduate programs, knowing that there's like clinical mental health degrees, there's marriage and family degrees, there's social work degrees, there's advanced degrees in counseling and clinical psychology. With all of those options, how did you move forward?
So it definitely is hard to move forward with all those choices, especially. So basically with me, I started like with where I was like locally, and I kind of moved from there. I also had my big sister's help, which was tremendous because she's already in grad school, so she definitely knew the way. So because I stay at Conyers, so I was thinking, okay, so pick a place near there, because my dad said thinking logically, because if you go far, like let's say Mississippi, how would you pay to stay there? What's the rent like? You got to think about all these obstacles, and to be really honest with you, I wasn't thinking that through. So I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know it would be that difficult, or because I was thinking more simplistic. So I said, okay, think around Conyers, and that's why I chose Clayton as one of them. And I did choose, what was it? Oh, Valdosta as another, which is still further from Conyers, so that's still a maybe.
Okay, so your decision was based on geography,
yes.
Probably first. So you recognized that a marriage and family degree and a clinical mental health counseling degree would both get you where you want to go. And so it was a geographical decision that you made.
Yes.
Did you compare at all the difference between those two specializations, marriage and family therapy versus clinical mental health?
Yes, me and my dad did. He said what he did was, which again, what he did was, it's kind of genius, because he printed out the, what do you call that word? Like prerequisites? Something like the courses. Okay, let's say courses. He printed out the courses for, Clayton, because that had the clinical health, that word. And then he printed out the MFT for marriage and family therapy for Valdosta. And he said, Sierra, they're basically saying like the same thing, but it's just rephrasing the words. So I really think you should look at Clayton, because it's also closer. And I wish I had the paper, because you could really see how they broke it down. So it was like, I can't even remember which one they said. But it was just one course was saying something about 500 credits. 500? 5,000? 500? I don't know. Something about credit hours of therapy. And Clayton had the similar hours. And he was like, you see, it was just, it's so similar, Sierra. So that's why I really want you to pick somewhere that's closer. And I was like, now that you think about it. So, yeah.
So you found that while there are two specializations, marriage and family therapy, which has its own accrediting body, and clinical mental health counseling, which has its own accrediting body,
yes.
Both accrediting bodies are in agreement pretty much about
exactly.
what it takes to prepare therapists. Yeah, that's interesting. So did you look at all at the courses that you would have to take at each? And so like the sequence of courses you would do at Clayton State versus the sequence of courses that you would do at Valdosta?
You say, did I look at it?
Yeah, did you look at, so your first year as a graduate student, like the courses you'd be taking at one versus the other? Did you look at like the curriculum?
Yeah, that was what we were looking at.
Oh, okay, so you found a lot of the same courses,
yes.
Not just course descriptions, and requirements.
That's exactly what it was.
Okay. then you picked out 2 programs. What did you do next?
So with me picking out those 2 programs, what did I do? Like application wise?
Yeah, so you want to go there. What's your next step?
Oh, okay. So my next step would like besides turning in the application.
That might be the next step.
oh, well.
So you had to apply. How did you know how to apply?
Oh, again, it was through my big sister. So she told me that what we're gonna do is sit down one day, and this is what we did. We sat down, and she said, "Okay, so Vadasa, we're gonna do that first." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And she said, "Okay, write down the email addresses for all the important people for Vadasa State, and that goes for the program people, and to communicate with them if like what other things to submit for the application." GRE requirements if needed. And what else should I put? Give me a second. And then okay. And then the recommendation letters for all of the teachers. She also gave me tips and tricks for grad school applications.
What were some of those tips and tricks?
Tips. They were one of them. I think there were 2. So one of them was for recommendation letters. When you gathered all 3 of them from your teacher, and you've already submitted it to one college, grad school, whichever, and once you already submitted it there, you can reuse the same recommendation letter envelope, that is, and you can use that for the other grad schools. Yes, and then the second trick is GRE scores. You can also turn that in for for the other grad schools as well, because even though sadly to say it, you would because when I did the GRE scores to turn it in, it did require payment.
Mm-hmm.
So the payment was $27.
Okay, that's not too bad.
I know, that's what I said to myself, but once you have to do it like 5 times, it's annoying. So
if my memory serves, just to apply to graduate school was like $60 per school. Like when I was looking.
Yes.
And I think I paid that 3 times. I applied to 3 programs.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so as like a college student, you don't have that kind of money sitting around, so you can't just apply to 20 places.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But I do work part-time at the YMCA, so I'm kind of fortunate.
I see that with your shirt on.
Yes. Yes.
So it sounds like it was helpful to have your sister involved in this.
Yes, exactly.
So she's already been through all this experience, and so it was useful to have her input and guidance.
Yes, and my mom also went to grad school before, so.
And it sounds like your dad was involved in this too, so it's a full family process.
Yes.
So they support. It sounds like they support you.
Yes, it was so nice.
Yeah, that makes it a lot easier. I don't know that I had any parental or sibling involvement when I did.
You did.
But do you think, looking at like Albany State University, is there something that our program can do to be more helpful to students interested in going to graduate school? So you had the benefit of your family, but if you didn't, what could the psychology program do?
I just thought of a funny one. It's kind of blunt, really, but honestly, there was that time where I was like, why didn't Albany have a psychology master's program in the first place for clinical mental health counseling for grad school.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, they had it for my friend for social work. And I was like, really? She could go here and then she's set. And I'm like, really? And I'm like, I gotta look somewhere else? Dang. But that's one.
We actually have aspirations to do that.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is we don't have anybody on faculty who could teach the classes.
Oh.
Because it's so the Clayton State program, they have to have like 80% of their faculty have to be in full Doctor of Clinical Psychology standing in counselor education. No one has a counselor education degree here.
Oh.
So that you can't be a practicing psychologist and teach clinical students. You have to be a counseling educator specialist.
Mm-mm.
There's only one place to get that in Georgia. That's Georgia State.
Okay, so
So we've looked at it, but we would need to hire a whole new faculty.
that would be so. Okay, I understand. My bad.
I wish, for your sake and other students' sake, that we had it.
Yes. Let's see, what else?
So, how was it getting letters of recommendation?
Oh, it was mostly I would say it was all right because yeah, on the flip side, it kind of fell back on me because it's like gotta stay up, gotta follow up through people,
Mm-hmm.
you know. That's mainly it. Yeah, so it was an all right experience for me. Yeah.
Well, I know since I was one of the people you asked, you gave me plenty of time to do it. Like you said, hey, I need this, but I don't need it for a few months, but just know that I need it. And so I was able to make a mental note, think about it. I really appreciated having that much time to write it and not get the email today, for example, that you need it by the 14th, like it needs to be submitted. So,
yes.
To anyone watching this, that was really cool. I appreciated that.
Okay, because it's like on the offhand, I think that's also unintentional. Because what happened was when I gave you enough time, I fell back. I actually dropped the ball because it was like I was supposed to like remind you at one point, but it's just like months went by and I didn't do it. So it's like you interpret it as, wow, she gave me a lot. And I was like, oh no, I forgot. I got swamped and everything. Life kicked in.
Yeah, so being on the ball at first can pay off.
Yeah,
so even though you dropped the ball, you were on it earlier. And so then I got to kind of like casually get to it when I got to it.
And then you finished first, and I was like, what do you know? What do you know? Okay.
So what else
Mm-hmm.
can you share about your experience looking at programs, narrowing it down, applying? Any tricks? So you shared the ones from your sister. Anything else that you could share with future graduate students?
Yes.
Or applicants?
So it was definitely about the GRE. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think the GRE is kind of underrated. It's like I didn't take it seriously, the GRE. I'm really admit that. I didn't really take it seriously because with the schools I was applying to, like Clayton, for instance, they said 2.9 and below, you don't need to take it. And I was like, I was just, laid back. In Valdosta, oh, it's not required. Oh, I'm really laid back. Okay. And then the rest of the schools that I had, it was required. And I was like, well, what if those two didn't fall through, though?
Mm-hmm.
And then what am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
So I took it anyway. And I didn't study at all. I just went and basically wung it. And it was really hard because there was these essay questions, and I was just like, oh, I didn't know about the essay question. Thought they were going to quiz me verbally, and I didn't know about And then there's mathematicals, and I know my stance on math is kind of off.
You're good at it or bad at it?
Oh, bad at
Okay.
it. I'm good like English wise, but math no. So I scored higher verbally, and then quantitatively, that word, I scored low. So it was like what was it? 279, which was average. Like the average score for Clayton is 280, and I was like, I was 1 point away. So but anyway, it was just how I'm just like basically saying like to take the GRE really serious, because when it comes back to like, because I took it because I needed it just in case, like as a what you call it, like a backup, basically, to have, so that I could still have the scores for other grad schools to keep applying to. But I know some of them, you have to get, what is it, a 300 and above, and it's just, I was just like, oh my god, and I only got a 279. Oh, so that's one thing about the GRE. And is there? Sorry, give me a second.
So you feel like you could have been more prepared?
Yes, more prepared.
And then you would have been a stronger applicant. You feel okay, even though it wasn't required for those schools. Did you still submit the scores to those schools?
Yes, I already submitted it.
Okay.
And it's again $27. So I already submitted it. And yeah, okay.
Anything else that you want to share about the journey you've taken from like kind of narrowing it down to counseling psychology, picking the programs, applying, playing the waiting game? I guess you haven't submitted your applications completely yet?
No, not yet. No.
Okay. So you've got those deadlines written down and...
Yeah, I still need to. Yeah, my last words were really just to don't let, like, it's like, don't freak out, but also stay really on it, because the days just pass by so quick, and like my mom says, like, time waits for no one. So really the reason why I added emphasis on the priority deadlines is because I wanted to do the fellowships, and I wanted to do teaching assistants, what's that called? Oh, it's called TA, but yes, and
GTA usually.
Yes, and it would like go hand in hand with what I wanted to do, because I still wanted to be a teacher. So, but also get paid for it. So with that, for the fellowships, I wanted to apply and maybe like get a full ride. Who knows? And so that's why I wanted to go and do it before the priority deadlines. That's what my fix is.
Yeah, that's really smart, especially since I'm like paying off student loans. There was a year when I was a master's student that I did not have a fellowship, and that was very expensive.
Yes. And,
well, thank you so much for sharing your experience, and we all hope the best for you. We're looking forward to hearing how it goes.
Thank you.